Yeah, so welcome everybody. It's great to see people back in the room. I love these events. And this reminds me, we started these seminars around about 4 years ago. There was 30 to 35 people in the room. And it takes me back to those days where it was so exciting for us. We were growing the company. People were coming in from all over the world. And we really got, obviously, time to get to know people, and the kind of intimacy of the events kind of takes me back to those days 3 or 4 years ago. That said, I do love it when we're all together, and I'm very excited for getting more people back in the room. So guys online, we're excited to have you when you're ready to get back into the room with us. So last event we had Mr. Wonderful. Who enjoyed Mr. Wonderful? Big lessons from Mr. Wonderful. We spoke with Mr. Wonderful. He introduced us to this idea that there was two big numbers in your business, or two big things that you needed to know. Number one was, what was the cost to buy a customer? And number two, what was the customer lifetime value? And if you can have a lifetime value that's bigger than the cost to buy a customer, then ultimately you can grow a very successful business. So I following on from that, we're going to get a lot of talk across the 2 days around what do you need to do to increase the lifetime value of the customer in your business to help you make that business grow. So we've moved on from Mr. Wonderful. We've got another very special guest with us this weekend. Banter's at the back of the room. He is the Disney guy, and we're going to borrow secrets from Disney to help you increase the lifetime value of your business. We'll have some special guests. We unfortunately couldn't get them to attend live, but we are going to have 1 or 2 guests calling in on the phone at various points. So make sure you are in the room and present for that. These guys are not to be missed. One today, and hopefully we're still working on getting one to call in tomorrow as well. So it all started with a mouse, and I often think about, Vance, you sent me this, believe it or not. This is actually the thing that you sent me around about 2 or 3 years ago, and this is a true story. I remember getting things sent through the post. I'm like, what the hell is this? Who's sending all this Disney stuff through the post? Turns out we'd subscribed to one of Vance's Facebook ads or something that he was doing, and we got on his mailing list, and he started to send all of these things through. And the very first one that I got off him said, don't forget it all started with a mouse. And I love that idea that something so simple can spawn something so big. And as you look at Disney, I think there's so many lessons. Across the course of the weekend, we are going to give you some things tactically that you can put into your business. But really, we can sprinkle magic on a business, but I think the real magic happens when the business owner internally is changed, and the magic happens internally where you can take what you will learn across the course of the next 2 days and actually implement and apply these things into your business. I'm a huge believer that the business never lets the owner down. The owner nearly always lets the business down. And as such, much of the work that I do, both personally and with clients and with coaching and this program, it's optimizing the asset. My goal always is, tactically, I can give you cash flow forecasts, I can give you marketing planning, I can give you Infusionsoft, I can give you whatever else you need, cockpit. You need all of those things. These are practical things that you absolutely have to have if you want to grow a business. You need oxygen and water to live, right? You need a cash flow forecast. You need your cockpit. You need your marketing plan. You need all of the budgets and everything else that we're talking about every week with you. But I also think you need something more than that. And I think that's the character. I think you need resilience. I think you need confidence. I think you need to get your heart broken a few times in business and pick yourself back up. I think that you need to learn to be okay with failing. I think you need to be okay with peer pressure and not really giving a crap about it. I think that you need to get very comfortable with yourself because you've got big decisions to make. And if I give you a cash flow forecast, I give you a marketing plan, I give you Infusionsoft, I can give you all of these practical tools, but if you don't have the balls to go away and use them, when the tough gets going or the wind changes, when the COVID hits, when the government closes you down, when a few people criticize you on Google or Facebook and leave you a bad review, when 1 or 2 staff quit, 5 or 6 quit in some cases, 10 or 12, Eric, each week. If you don't have the resilience to deal with that, then everything else is irrelevant. Which is why I say the magic on the business is important, but the real magic happens when the change takes place inside of the business owner and you accept that these are things that are going to happen to you. They're all tests. They're all testing your character. Every single one of these things. There's not a chance that you're going to get through business without problems. Every single day, every single week, every single month, this shit is going to hit you in the face. The only problem is that you think you should live without them. Yes or no? The real problem in all of this is that you think that you should not live without them. You think that when you've hired this person, that's it, all of my hiring woes are over. You think that when you get your Facebook ad set up and it produces your first 7 calls, that's it, we're in the money, this thing's going to be fine for the next 10 or 15 years. I think by now you've realized that this is not how business and life work. The best news for you is that 96% give up. That should be music to your ears. That 96% of the people that you're fighting with on a daily basis have given up. Even if they're still in business, they've given up because they're doing the same thing day out, week after week, month after month. They're not in rooms like this. They're not willing to be held accountable like Eric. They're not willing to go away and actually do the things, even though they don't like it, even though it's tough, even though it's hard, the things that actually change the business. Because from the inside, if you like, from the person, that's the change that needs to happen in order for the business to soar. So much of what I'll be talking to you about in my sessions, and you probably have seen a shift over the last 6 months in some of the things that I teach you. We kind of made a pact in the group that Simon and Lisa and Barry, the guys, they can do a great job now of marketing plans, of cash flow forecasts, of all of these things that you need. But the thing that I want to really focus on is you, the asset. You are the ultimate asset in this business. And if I can develop you, I can optimize the way you think. I can optimize the way that you can see things, to get more things done with less time, with more fun in your life, to look forward to going to work, even if there is a challenge, because that actually is the point of being in the business in the first place. The point of being in the business is, for me, to test my character. 100%. Chuck the shit at me and see if I can deal with it. That's the bit that excites me. Now, I don't like coming into problems and shit going on, but I love tackling it. I absolutely love tackling it. And that's the thing that I've become addicted to. I've had to do a lot of work to get to that point where mindset, mentally, physically, emotionally, energetically, zest for life, zest for business, all of these things have had to step up. And that's much of what we're going to try and teach across the course of the next 2 days. Certainly from my sessions, I'm going to talk to you about what I would do if I bought your business. I'll talk to you about other things as we go along. But really for me, this entire 2 days, as always, a permanent reminder service of things that I know you forgot. Permanent reminder service. The number one best thing that we can do for you, period, and always will be, is a permanent reminder service of the absolute basics that you forgot. The ego tells you that you want something new. The reality is that you probably need to hear something that I told you a year ago. And the reality is you probably need to hear it again next year. And again the year after. And again the year after. Because this is the way. The successful businesses that I've watched, they absolutely fundamentally master the basics. If we can get you to master the basics, the rest becomes easy. We will share new things. There will be new distinctions, new insights. I absolutely promise you there'll be a lot of fun. There'll be a lot of laughs. And we'll have a great 2 days across the course of the weekend. So, can you put my slides on? I'm gonna get into my session. So this is life back home right now. This is life back home in England, and it literally is. I cannot imagine what it would be like to be in England right now, given what's happening. If you don't know, England have qualified for a major final. This is the country that invented soccer. Have finally made it to a final, right? So the country that kind of invented the thing on the battlefield when they were apparently kicking heads, however many hundreds of years ago. The story is the British soldiers were bored one day. They chopped a few heads off the soldiers that they were fighting against and decided to have a kickabout in no man's land with whoever's head it was. Set up some goals, and so the world found soccer, right? So that's all football, as we like to call it in Europe. Because we actually kick the ball with our feet, right? And it's round and it is a ball. Am I allowed to say that? So we have this thing called soccer going on in England, and for the first time in 55 years, so first time in my lifetime, we've reached the final of this major competition. And every year, is this the year? Is this the year? Is this the year? And it's like, no, not this year. Kind of go back and try again. Well, anyway, this year is the year, right? And yours truly is in America, when it's going on in England. And it's actually in England, right? Which makes it even better or worse for me, because like the whole thing is at fever pitch. So this, as you see on the screen, this is pretty much what life in England looks like right now. There's probably not that many people in the bars because you still have to book a seat and the government still haven't figured some shit out back there. But the stadium, so you can't sit in a bar, but you can have 60,000 in a stadium all on top of each other, spitting on each other, cuddling, loving each other, you know, random strangers all kind of going at each other for however long, right? That's fine, another story for another day. We all know this whole thing has got more hypocrisy than we kind of can ever imagine. That's my house, top left. I put in a big cinema TV room purposely for the summer so that we could get the family round, enjoy it. My hometown team, Hartlepool, also won a major competition this year. They got promoted. They got promoted back to the league, which was just like the best thing ever. So what a summer it's been back home. Everyone's in soccer, everyone's in soccer mode. Even my kids, they haven't got a clue what's going on, but they're loving it. My clicker's not quite working because they helped me out with this. Oh, there we go. Let me go back. So, question, do I wish I was back there? It was asked yesterday. Vito, who happens to be Italian, so if you don't know the story, Italy and England meet in the final on Sunday, right? Vito is brand new with us. He's been here for 3 weeks, and he's living with his boss for the weekend that England play Italy, and to suggest that there might be a little needle and tension tomorrow night in the house is an understatement. So he said to me when he came in the other day, he said, do you wish you were back there? And my answer, where am I pointing, guys? Where am I going? Because this isn't working for me. Do I wish I was back there? The answer is absolutely yes. And absolutely no. Absolutely 100% do I wish I was back there. And absolutely 100% am I glad I'm not. How do you get that? Is that possible? I spoke about this over the last few months, that in life, you've got to get to the point where you absolutely care and you absolutely don't care. I absolutely care that somebody has quit, and I absolutely don't care that somebody's quit. I absolutely care that I got a 1-star review, and I absolutely don't care that I got a 1-star review. I'm not bothered either way. How do you get a life where no matter what happens, you're happy? So for me, when this happened and I seen it coming about a week or two before, I thought, fucking sod's law, England are going to get to this final and I have to go all the way back to Florida, right? We're driving around last week and Natalie says, so you know, you're looking forward to Florida? And I'm like, yeah. She said, well, you do realise there's a hurricane as well when you land? The day before we flew, we were in Blackpool. And I'll show you some pictures of Blackpool in a minute. The kids were ill, so the kids were thrown up violently on the way to Blackpool. Saturday night, Natalie started throwing up violently in the middle of the England-Germany game, right? So it's now late Saturday night and I'm thinking, oh shit, I've got a 22-hour journey tomorrow. Natalie's dad gets it. Everybody in the family gets this sickness bug and I have to go and get on this flight, right? And it's just a thing that's going around with the kids. So I'm going, all right, I can use this as an excuse to get out, right? If I want to stay, I can use this like bug thing as a reason that I can't get on the flight, right? Chuck COVID under the bus, anything I want, right? I'll just come up with some excuse and I'll just sit in England, I'll watch the semi-final, then I'll watch the final back in England. And I thought, no, I'm not going to do it. I wouldn't do it, but I'm definitely not going to do it because I took myself back to the days when I dreamed about doing this. And for so long, this was my dream. Walt had a dream, this was my dream. And anybody who knows my story will tell you, well, I absolutely did everything and anything I could to make this work. Wherever I had to go, whatever I had to do, whatever I had to invest, whatever sacrifice I had to make, whatever jet lag I had to have, from flying to Andrew, remember my days of flying to San Diego from England to meet him the next day, driving up the San Diego freeway. That in and of itself is an experience. Never mind 8 hours jet lagged after a 12-hour flight to try to get my first customer in the bag. And Andrew will tell you the story. He wanted to meet me at 3 o'clock, which at my point at this time is 11 p.m. at night. In the meeting, I'm falling asleep, quite literally. My eyes are rolling, and I swear I can remember being asleep for about 3 seconds. And he said, it's time to go. I said, it is, right? And then I had to face the gauntlet of going back down the San Diego freeway, which was even busier because now it's 5 o'clock. So I'm now driving along the San Diego freeway and it's 7 or 8 o'clock trying to get back into San Diego to see Natalie and Harry, who was probably only 4 or 5 months at the time. And Natalie said, how did it go? I said, I have no idea. I can't remember any of it, but I think he said yes. Got my first customer. 6 years later, here we are. The events built and community built and impact around the world built, fun built, lifestyle grew, Natalie, kids grew, relationships have grew with people, fun has grew, confidence has grew, the whole thing. Everything that is good about my life is because of these things going on. Why would I not want to revisit this? And this is now not as big as the events that we are used to holding. We were getting to the point of 150, probably looking at 200 people being in a room pre-COVID. But the idea that I wouldn't be here today was absolutely never going to happen, regardless of what's happening back in England, because this was the dream. Why would I give up on it? This was, if you'd have said to me in 2013, pre-anybody being in a room, 2015 was my first ever client. If you'd have said to me back then, Paul, in 4 years, England are going to play in the European Championships against Italy, or you can be in a room in Florida speaking to business owners all over the world, I wouldn't have hesitated 1 second to tell you that this is where I would want to be. So I absolutely want to be back in England because it will be the best, and I'm so happy for everybody. So I couldn't be happier for people knowing that they're going to have an amazing weekend, the sun's going to shine, they're going to drink, they're going to have fun, everyone's going to be happy. Most people haven't got a clue what's going on, they're just taking part in it, but that's what the beauty is of these things, right? Everyone's going to be happy back there, and I couldn't be happier for them. And I'm happy here. It's wonderful. So I think there's a few lessons, and I thought about this. I could go on and on and on. How do you get a life like that? That's got to be your question. And I'm not saying I've cracked it, but I'm trying. I'm constantly trying to make sure that whatever happens in my life, I'm all right. Can't change things that are going on, but I can change the way that I see these things. I think there's three things. Number one, you've got to get a life with choices. I say this over and over and over again to you. If this is a PG-ism, I probably stole it from somebody else. The people with the best lives have the best choices. People with the best choices have the best lives. I had a choice to be here. I didn't have to be here. I could have copped out. I could have done Zoom. I could have been on there with Simon. I could have come up with any excuse. I wanted to be here. The people with the best lives ultimately have the best choices. What are you doing every single day in your business, in your life? Honing your skills, developing your team, growing your business in such a way that it doesn't limit the choices that you've got. Everything for me wraps around the number of choices that I've got in my life. And if it limits the choices, I ain't taking part in it, whatever the consequences are. Number two, you can never change what happens, only how you respond to it. You can never change what happens, only how you choose to respond to that thing. And I think that's the biggest. The real keys to life, I can never change most of the shit that's going on around me. Never will be able to. The majority of the things that are happening to me are absolutely out of my control. Accepting that allows you to get to the point of accepting that I can change how I respond to it. I can respond with a smile, or I can respond with a, oh fuck. It's completely up to me. And if you really look into my life, I accept total responsibility for everything in it, everything. Whatever happens, even if there's issues with staff, if there's issues with clients, issues with family, if there's issues, it's my fault. 100% my fault. Might not always admit it straight away. I promise you, I go home on a night and I wake up the next day, like that was you. Whichever way you look at it. And the quicker that you wake up and accept that it was you, the faster you actually get on to solving the problem. If you're always convinced that it's somebody else's fault, here's the kicker, you are out of control of your life in an instant. Think about it. If I need you to do something, Jason, I have no control in my life. If I need somebody in my team to behave a certain way, I have no control in my life. If I need Natalie to behave a certain way, I have no control in my life, absolutely whatsoever. The only option I've got in those instances is to try and control that person or that thing, which leads to much of the shit that you're seeing in life. The jealousy, the bitterness, the anger, the relentless trying to control people that you're watching in relationships, because they don't understand the fundamental aspect of control is that you've got to give it up to be in control, and you've got to be comfortable giving it up. There's nothing I can do to stop any of my team doing anything. There's nothing that I can do really to stop Natalie doing anything. There's nothing I can stop any of my kids doing anything. Nothing. As I'm sure some of you are finding out. Jennifer, you had a rough year or two. There's nothing I can do except back myself that I can deal with it if and when it happens. And there's another one. I think most of us, and we spoke about this recently, Laura kicked this off and I've actually wrote about it in the magazine, mentioned it on Wednesday's call. Most of us are trying desperately hard to get things right and thinking that when we get things right, everything's going to be all right. I think it's the other way around. I think you've got to get a few things wrong and realize actually that you've got the resilience and you've got the strength of character to deal with the fact that it went wrong. No teacher will ever tell you that. Government will never tell you that. Your parents probably won't tell you that. There's not that many people in life will actually tell you the real magic in getting the resilience and the character is to fuck up a few times. But don't be reckless. The real thing comes from understanding that you dealt with it. You're still breathing, you're still alive, everyth's all right, the business is still running, your house is still in order, you've still got your legs, you're still able to read, you're still able to see, you're still able to do things. You survived. And I think if you actually pay a little bit more attention to that really little simple thing, that's the confidence that you want, that you'll take forward to your next hiring decision. And if you get it wrong, so what? I wrote this ball before. And if you make a few wrong decisions in business with marketing, so what? I can deal with this. Everything's all right. And when you get to that point in that way of thinking, it becomes much easier to grow your business. And the last point, well, there's many, I could have rolled 10 in this, under the banner of how to get to the point where you absolutely care and you absolutely don't. I think you've got to stop wanting things. You've got to stop wanting things to happen. People will tell you, again, false, there's so much bullshit in this life. It's ridiculous how much bullshit is in this life. And how many people, it's a complete charade, the shit you're watching on social media, the stuff you're being peddled on TV, the crap you're being peddled from generation after generation after generation who are miserable, haven't figured stuff out, completely unfulfilled, lacking energy, lacking any direction in their life, are passing shit to you that if you're not careful, you're going to carry with you. People will have you believe that if you acquire things, get things, that you will be happier. The fastest way to be happy is to stop wanting things. The minute you're only unhappy because you want something to happen. So what's the diametrically opposed situation? Stop wanting things. Figure out a way to limit the number of things that you want. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't want a successful business, but it can't define you. The minute it starts to define you, it's game over. Your life is not your own. It should be something that you want to, choose to work towards, because that's what excites you. That's the thrill. You're going to learn things about yourself because you're growing a successful business. But you shouldn't want to, and this is the bit to understand, you should not want that successful business because you think it's going to define you, that you're a more successful person, you're a better person, that you're going to all of a sudden be more confident. I know very many successful businesses whose life is a train wreck. Most, actually. Because they considered only how much money am I going to make? And no matter how much money that they made, they were still a complete train wreck. Personally, emotionally, relationships, every aspect of their life was rotten. Congratulations, you made loads of money, but your life is a complete train wreck. Is that the prize that we really want for you? I'm adamant that you can do both. And that's what I want you to understand more and more as a teacher. I'm positive that you can do both. There is an absolute way that you can walk through this life confident, with your character tested, resilient, strong, confident, light the path up for other people to follow you, and as a result, actually have a more successful business because of it. I think the odds are stacked against you of doing it at all costs. How do I know? Take a look around the world. The odds are stacked. That's the default mode of most people, is the tense, angry, frustrated, must get this thing at all costs. And yet most businesses are failing. Humans are not very good when we're fixed. When we're a little more relaxed, when we're a little more in flow, when we're a little more confident, when we believe in ourselves a bit more, when we realize that this business thing can achieve whatever it wants, but not at the expense of you living the life that you really, really want. I'm adamant that you can do both. So to get to that point, there's just 3 things. Limit the number of things that you want. Hard work, it really is. In a society, particularly in the United States, consumerism, everybody wants you to believe that you need everything, you should buy everything, you should have everything, you need to go everywhere, you need to do all of this shit, right? Be careful. You can't change what happens to you, but you absolutely can change how you look at it. And if you grasp that bit, no matter what happens, you're going to be all right. You're going to be happy. Somebody leaves? Not ideal. It's not ideal. I can't change if they want to leave. I can't change how I react the next day. And if I react calmly to a decision, I'm increasing immediately the likelihood that I'll get, as Eric said, the second order consequence, the decision of what happens next. Correct. Think about it. If I get somebody who quits, or something happens to me, and I get angry and I get angst and I react immediately, how many good decisions do you make from that place? None. Right? So then the next thing is you make another stupid decision, and because of that you feel shitty again. Right? And now you're going to make another bad decision because you feel shitty, and before you know it, 5 years later, you're like, where did all this go wrong? What the fuck happened? Right? And you unravel it all and you go, actually, there was this one fine day in your life where this thing went wrong, and because you reacted to it aggressively, stubbornly, that set off a series of second, third, fourth, and fifth order consequences, and your life has never been your own ever since. The ability to look at the situation and react calmly increases the likelihood that you'll get the next decision right, and that's where you win in life. And choices. People with the best lives absolutely have the best choices.
Thanks for watching this video, and if you found it helpful, and if you now find yourself thinking, I wonder what else this person can help me with, head over to paulgough.com/books, where you can find my best-selling books, which will show you how to add more profit to your practice. Or send an email to paul@paulgough.com to ask about how we can help you accelerate the growth and profitability of your clinic. And by the way, if you know anybody who would find this helpful, please share this video out. Thanks so much.